Saturday over there, isn't it? Saturday morning?
Saturday morning, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco. Oh, there we go. All right. Welcome, everybody, on the live and the replay. We got the beautiful, beloved Cleo in the house for the second time. She's coming back next month from Melina Ferguson. So I'm anxious to see what's happening over there down under, where all the people are lit and awake. I'm going to let people have a little time to come in. I'm going to play our intro, and we'll be back in a minute and 19 seconds. Let's see, Wise Old Seeds is in the house. So let me just put on my Merlin spray. Gotta have my Merlin spray. I've already had my other two mixtures of my cocktail sent by my beloved sister. Cleo, it's good to see you. Really is. I'm really excited to collaborate with you again. There's really nothing going on in the world, and there's no energies coming down. Nobody's being tested, so I don't know what we're going to talk about.
No idea. No idea.
It's I got a message. We were having David Icke was coming on. He was supposed to come on next Wednesday, and I received a message from his son a couple of days ago, and he said that after quite a bit of consideration, he is not doing any shows through the end of the year because he's exhausted, and peace, love, and comfort to him. So he's going to come on in January. But so anyway, so when I got that message, I was like, oh man, well, it's the number one thing is his health, and I'll send him a note and see if he wants. He said we'll do it in January. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I got to thinking about it after a couple of days, and I said, it's going to be a lot more interesting to talk to him in January than it will be November 18th. I just have a feeling that, and that's how things go, isn't it? I mean, it's like these changes of direction come, and then we used to look back on them and go, oh, wow, now I know why that happened. But now, to me, it feels like when things like that happen, we know beforehand. We already know it's going to be better. You know what I mean? So it's that new 5D frequency.
Yeah, but I get where he's coming from, though, as in being exhausted and just feeling that enough's enough. And I know for me personally, every day is, I won't call it a battle because it's not a battle at all, but every day takes, I have to meditate every single day. Yeah. And although I've been a meditator for, many, many, many years, I kind of go through phases where I'll be consistent, and then it'll be like, yeah, I've got it. I don't need to sit down to meditate. Whereas right now, I feel that if I don't, it's so easy for me to get pulled out of that center neutral position. So for me, at the moment, that's my one no negotiation. that I have to do in the morning, because otherwise I start to flounder, and quite easily I'll flounder, and I'm really having to. And it's not about what's going on out there or what's happening anywhere else, but with what's coming up within me and what I have to look at and face and clear and resolve, and all of that. So I get it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like the way you put that too, because there on the surface there are a lot of distractions, it may seem, but but I'm with you. I mean, regardless of that, and I'm finding it easier and easier not to look at that stuff.
Mm.
It's curiosity kind of gets you sometimes, but because the thing is, it's there's so much energy presenting itself, and old energy presenting itself, new energy presenting itself on a personal level, that I don't have time for that stuff. It's hard enough trying to figure out what I need to do from a 3D functionality every day. I mean, I had 3 days. Well, it was really 3 nights. Just to go back about 5 days ago, 3 nights in a row, where I guess the only way I can put it is it was a simultaneous thing. I guess the true divine feminine energy in me finally getting to that place of equilibrium, but it was a very painful 3 days and nights, because the last vestiges of my divine masculine, I guess, was moving out, or my distorted masculine, excuse me, was moving out to make room for, that equilibrium. And man, it was painful. I've never felt that kind of, dying sensation. And I was like, why does it feel this way? If I know it's okay and it needs to go, but man, the ego fights hard, doesn't it?
I totally get it. I've been there more than once. But yes, I've had the same experience just recently, just in the last week, and not as painful. I could certainly feel my resistance, absolutely feel my resistance, but not as painful as it has been in the past. But I think we're all experiencing it, maybe in different ways, but I think we are all feeling the same thing.
Yeah, I agree. And there seems to be more clarity, obviously. And I don't know how to put this, but I think what I want to say is the little things are becoming the big things, and what used to be the big things are becoming the little things. And of course, the little things are centered around to thine own self be true. A presence with yourself, a greater awareness, honesty with yourself, integrity with yourself, in that world where it's just you and the universe that knows what's being said and heard. So it doesn't matter what you say to anyone else or what you do. It's so crazy, because we're in a polarity. And then as we're describing these things, what you were talking about last week and what I'm referring to, it's like that's exactly how the experience goes. You feel the polarity of, let's just say, the positive or the expansive, and you feel at the same time you're letting go of what the distortion was, and it's a very, very different kind of recipe or experience than we've been used to, but it feels good. It really does.
It does feel good, and it's and I'm loving that. And I'm sure you've experienced it, that when you do the work, obviously you see the effect outside of you, like it's mirrored back to you. But I'm finding it's almost comical how quickly and instantly that it happens.
Yeah.
To the point where you open your eyes and then bang, it's changed instantly, and you can see the response straight away.
Yeah, there that instant manifestation. I don't think was anything like we thought it would be,
Mm.
but it is showing itself, and I think that's probably the best example how quick we can process stuff compared to what we used to. The other thing that's happening more and more, and I'd kind of forgot about it until I think it was last night or the night before. We lay down, we put our hands together, and after a few things were said, then we went quiet and went on our own communion. And God, it became the higher dimension became palpable in the physical. I notice sometimes when I lay down, if I close my eyes and then I open them and the room's dark, it pretty much looks the same from a physical sense. But last night or 2 nights ago, there was a period of, I think it was about 10 minutes. And I had my eyes open because I kept opening them just to make sure. And it literally felt like I was entering another dimension with all my physical senses. And I kept waiting for something to show up, thinking, well, something's going to show up. And then something in my head's going, no, it's you. This is all you. There's no, everything's been embodied, or a good part of it has. But man, it sure seemed like, and I've had experiences like that before, but this one was much more conscious. Like, I could see the pixelation in my field. I could almost see layers, I guess is the way I'd put it. Like somebody was about to pull the curtain back. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a bigger part of our experience, especially after we get through into the solstice into 2021.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and because I'm finding those experiences are lasting longer and longer each time they happen. I don't know if you've experienced the
Yes,
same.
that's what I'm talking about. That's one of
I
the.
had I had an interesting experience when I was at the hairdresser's,
Yeah.
and he was cutting my hair, and he's got a studio at home, and I was sitting in the chair, and he's talking. I had my eyes closed, and I opened them. I kind of like to be. I don't like to talk too much at the hairdressers, but because you're the only one there, you're the only one that he's going to speak to. But I opened my eyes at one point, and I looked in the mirror, and I was a lion. I could physically see a lion in the mirror, and I thought, oh my gosh, if he looks in the mirror now, he is going to see a lion. And I'm panicking, and I'm thinking, please don't look in the mirror, please. And I'm watching him to make sure that he's not going to look in the mirror. And I kept blinking and thinking, how do I change back? I don't know how to change back. And it felt like it lasted a long time. It probably wasn't a long time, but I was panicking that he was going to, because I swore that if he looked in the mirror, he was going to see a lion in the mirror.
Was that recent?
Yeah, it was between lockdowns. So we've had 2 lockdowns. It was between the 2.
Because I had the same thing happen to me in Sedona. So it would have been the last few days of September, the first few days of October. And we laid down, and there was quite a bit of stuff that went on. She was channeling, and I was even talking or doing kind of a light language thing. And then I was told, get out. And the condo we were staying in had full-length floor-to-ceiling mirrors on the closet. Had it must have been, a good 15 feet wide. And it was fairly dark, and I got out. I heard, get out of the bed. And I'm thinking, oh, man. So I get out of bed, and I walked over to the in front of the closet. And then I got on my knees, and then that's exactly what I saw. And I was there a long time. It felt like a long time. And I wonder what that is. I wonder if that's Lyrian or Lyran or whatever you call it.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Actually, you can ask Melina next month. She knows quite a bit about that stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm a bit sort of naive to all that stuff. I feel a bit like. Do you remember? Was it Bewitched, where she had the aunt that would try and do spells, and she didn't know what she was doing?
Oh, Esmeralda. Yeah.
Esmeralda, that's it. I feel a bit
Yeah.
like her.
You feel like her. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fun.
where I do something, I think, how did I do that? How do I change back?
We watched a kind of a light movie the other night because of the energy. We do that so we can kind of just process it without all that going on, right? And I just happened to find it. It was called. It's a European, and it was dubbed in English, but it's called Wild Witches, I think is the name of it. And so this girl comes from a lineage of wild witches whose function, or one of their primary functions, is to protect animals and to help animals, right? And it was, it was kind of like maybe for kids, I guess, in a way, but it was cute. And but what came out of it for me, because anytime we watch these movies, there's always a message, even if you don't think there is, and then you go, oh, here we go. But it was the communication between the animals, nature, and the human being. And I thought, oh, there we go, because I've really noticed that lately. I mean, we first moved here 3 or 4 months ago. Morgan's out there putting food out. We have a big driveway in the back next to like a forest, like a riverbed, and there would be possums sitting next to uh, two kittens next to raccoons, and they would all be eating within just a few feet of each other, and none of them bothered each other. I said, that just doesn't add up,
Yeah.
but they were.
I'm seeing that here too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it here too. It's amazing. And we've got yesterday actually, I walked into the laundry and there's a like paneled windows in the laundry, and one of the cats was sitting at the window with a magpie on the other side of the window, and they were just staring at each other for ages. And I stood there and just watched them, and it was so beautiful. There was no the cat wasn't looking like she was going to pounce, although if I opened the door, there's a good chance she would have. But there was something going on. There was absolutely something, something there, something happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's my feeling has always been that's the first place we're going to see it, but I never really thought about it more other than that, because it's the closest thing to our, to our experience, like, in terms of the visible light spectrum. But I've been noticing it for months, but it really stuck out in that movie, and I thought, well, that only makes sense. It really makes sense. I mean, I've even had a whole evolution. And it's been slow, but when we got here and then we put the studio downstairs, which is where the shed is, it's kind of cavernous because it's on a hill, so it's basically like a cave. So I mean, so it has all the aspects of a cave. It holds in the temperature, but it also has a lot of spiders. So I came in here, I cleaned it all out, and within a few days, I mean, this place there's spiders were everywhere. So I just said, okay, I'm just gonna connect with y'all, and don't bite me, and I won't bother you. And it's kind of like a self-maintenance thing. Like, I don't see them as much anymore, but they're here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting how this is working. But it's like, we got to walk the talk in all regards.
Yeah, and I feel like that's exactly what it's about at the moment. And I think that's what we're being challenged to do, is that walking the walk, because and a lot of us have talked the talk for a long time, but now there is no talking the talk without walking the walk, because it's so it's just becoming so obvious when someone's just talking the talk at the moment.
Yeah, I think everything is, though. I mean, like, if over here, I mean, I don't have a political affiliation at all. I voted with my feet, but just watching the media, and I'm not really do much of that. But what I noticed about it is they're very pro one side. It's so obvious, which it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I know it's all going to be the same no matter what, in terms of where we'll end up, or however you want to put it. But everything is becoming very obvious. Like, it's everything is being exposed, and that's what the apocalypse has been purported to be, the great unveiling. And rightfully so. First and foremost, center stage is the human being in transition, and this telepathy is expanding. It's bringing challenges onto us as to learning how to trust our telepathy. Do we say something to somebody when we know they're saying one thing and doing another thing? It's creating a whole new dynamic in terms of how we navigate life. It really is. It's I know I'm getting a lot quieter. I know that. I'm doing a lot more observing and keeping my mouth shut.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a bit the same. Yeah, I feel like not that I don't have a right to say, but there's always something in it for me. So if I'm recognizing it, there is something in that for me, whether I think it's right, wrong, what the person said, done, whatever, it doesn't matter in the end. At the end of the day, it comes back to me and what I'm doing. And am I being true to me? Am I doing the work? Am I doing my work? Yeah. Am I in love in every minute of every day? And the answer is no, I'm not in love in every minute of every day. I get pulled out. And that's why I have to keep coming back, keep coming back.
Yeah,
I remember years ago, a few years ago, I was in Peru. And it was just such a profound experience that it's what I use as my reminder. I went for a massage. Well, what I thought was going to be a massage, and the guy that was working on me was hurting me. He was working on my legs, and it was so painful, so painful. And at one point, I grabbed his arms, and just I couldn't deal with the pain any longer. So I said to him, "You have to stop. You have to stop. I'm in so much pain." And he eased off for a moment and then just went straight back in. And I thought, this guy's not going to stop. He's just going to keep going. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's just going to keep going. So you're going to have to find a way. So I closed my eyes and took this deep breath. And as I took the deep breath, the pain disappeared and this grid appeared in front of me. And I could see it was let's say the Earth's grid. And as he was, I'll call it massaging, hurting me, as he was manipulating my body, I could see he was manipulating a body of water in the Amazon. And it was healing this water in the Amazon. And I knew that I could potentially infect that water again. I'm going to call it infect that water again if I didn't hold love. Wow. So if I didn't hold love in my heart, if I don't hold love in my heart, I could potentially affect that water, that body of water. And I'm sure there's a lot more that it would be affected. But it was so in my face and clear that the work that we do on ourselves, we think is for ourselves, but it's not. It's really not.
That's fascinating. I mean, to think about how the science and the mechanics of all this works, how it all works. Like you're saying that, I can see it. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, that's trippy. I wonder if he was working on a part of her that was once part of an energy complex that was in the Amazon that's now picked up by her soul, when you were a fish or whatever. And you know what I mean? And you're right. Everything is connected. And I think that's part of the walk and the talk thing is there's no exceptions. I mean, like you're talking about, that's been going on with me a little bit, which has been, well, let me put it in layman's terms, which it might be kind of mean, but Like, I don't like you, but I love you. Like, and I know I need to work on that until the first part goes away. But at least I'm conscious enough now, and I think this goes for really all of us. We're not engaging that lower frequency, even if we're the one originating it. Whatever,
Mm.
whatever. But we're able to assess it and and take it into ourselves. And that's another thing I noticed. We were talking about this on the last couple of shows, which is working on it internally. And it's becoming, in the vast majority of the time, in my own experience and a couple of people I talk to, that when you take it in internally, that nothing has to be said and it all works out. That's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I just got to say, I had a note. Thank you for those pillows. Not only, yeah. Thanks for the cases. Those are very cool. I put my head on it every night.
I'm so pleased you like them.
Yeah. Those are very original too. I don't know. Now, do you have those on I don't want to get off subject, but do you have those on a website? I mean, do you?
I know I have an Instagram.
You have an Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, Instagram account or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I wish I had one down here so I could show everybody, but very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I've got one right here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I'm going to grab it.
Yeah, with so many friends in Australia, we're getting more and more Australian stuff all around the house all the time. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's the Duna cover.
Duna. Oh, that's a Duna cover.
What do you call it? Duvet? No.
No. The Duna is for the whole bed, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
the quilt cover.
Yeah, we call them comforters, but I've been instructed that Dunas are different than comforters. Yeah, that's very cool. How did you come up with that?
Well,
was it a download or what?
Yeah, it was, and it was interesting because, and I think I mentioned last time, I'm a little bit slow with picking things up. I actually, and I'm talking 20 odd years ago, I was sitting in meditation and I saw a Duna cover or comforter cover, whatever you want to call it, a Duna cover appear. And I thought, I love Duna covers, but I'm not interested in making them. And for years it kept coming in and no thanks, but no thanks. And then one year, it was when, do you remember the film, What the Bleep Do We Know? Yeah, when that came out, I went to see it. And not long after that, Masaru Emoto came out to Australia to speak. And he's the scientist, the Japanese scientist that did the work with water.
Yes.
Yeah, he did a lot of work with water where he used positive words, negative words, different types of music, and he would freeze the water and photograph it during the process to see what happens with the water. And he found that positive words have a positive effect on the water. So anyway, I went to see him speak in Australia, and the next morning I woke up and instantly the Duna cover was there again. And I said, okay, show me. And then you've got to let it go because I'm not interested in making bed linen. And I saw the words and then realized what the concept was, which is, where the human body is 80-odd% water. So if we have positive, loving words on us while we speak, then, what effect is it having on us?
Yeah.
I suppose it's an extension of, being mindful of the words that come out of your mouth. And it's an extension of that, really. But then I found I had to live and breathe it. It's that thing of walking the walk. And I had to basically live and breathe every one of those affirmations before I could bring it to light. I really tried a number of times to bring it to fruition, and it wouldn't work. And I realized it wasn't until it was coming about that I realized, oh, okay, I can see why it didn't happen before, because it's a little bit like, and I think it comes back to that walking the walk, or talking, being able to talk the talk and walk the walk. You know, I suppose it's like when someone explains something to you, someone that's talking the talk explains something to you, and it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of get it, but something just, I'm not quite getting it. And then someone else comes along and who's walking the walk and says the same thing, but because they live it and breathe it, you understand it. They help you get into your heart, and it's almost like they help you understand it just because they have understood it, or they have lived and breathed it.
Yeah.
And this was a similar thing. Until I lived and breathed it, I couldn't birth it. I couldn't offer it to anyone. So, but it kind of, it's a much bigger.
Yeah. No, I get it. And
it's,
yeah.
there's even more to it. I mean, this piece is actually, it belongs to, so there's the 4 chambers of the heart. And I had a story come through, and the 4 chambers are the chamber of truth, the chamber of knowledge, chamber of solace, and the chamber of power.
Mm-hmm.
This particular piece belongs to the chamber of truth, and there's a story that actually goes with it, and I just woke up with it one morning. Beautiful story. And so there are 4 pieces in this series. And this one, as you can see, is quite wordy. There's a lot of, words on it. The next piece belongs to the chamber of solace. And see, this piece is all about bringing everything up that's no longer needed. The next piece is about the stillness that's required to process what's come up, and which has a lot less words on it. The piece after that is very few words, and it belongs to the chamber of knowledge. And the piece after that, I won't say what the piece after that is, but let's just say it's no longer words.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, the first one sounds like the fun one.
I don't know, actually. It took me, when I first, I probably shouldn't say this, but when I first started playing around with it, I started with just writing on a pillowcase. And it took me 2 weeks to be able to sleep with that,
wow.
that pillowcase. Yeah, it was really hard. I found it really difficult to sleep on it. Not this, of course.
No, I know what you're talking about. But but isn't that how it works? I mean, I realized in my own experience, right away that whatever I was getting was meant for me first. Like, if it could help someone else, that's great, but it's meant for me. And then I've noticed with other people, there's a lot of people like Old Wise Seeds, and like what you're doing, that intentionally and consciously infuse into the creation, whatever that may be. And that energy's got to go with, but what I was going to say is I've noticed over the years that I think that's how it works. Somebody will pull something in, and just because they pulled it in doesn't mean they're doing it, right? Yeah. And so I get what you're saying about like that other example. But I think that's something that we all kind of go through. I guess you got to pull it in, become aware of it first, and then. But it's interesting because you see a lot of that out in the field, in the community, as people are transforming. Of course, there's been a lot of that.
Absolutely, yeah, you do see it, yeah. But it's and I think and sometimes you do see or feel a product that's I get it, but you can feel that it's not quite there. You haven't nurtured it enough yet, or haven't. But I suppose there's purpose in that too. I mean, I tried to get this off the ground a number of times, and I was just stopped. It wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the last time, I thought, okay, I'm just going to give this one more go, and if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. I wasn't, to be honest, I wasn't attached to it. It was more that I would get okay, I feel like this is what I'm meant to be doing. And then it would come to a standstill, and I'm thinking, okay, am I confused? Am I not getting this message correctly? I don't get it. And then the last time, I thought, okay, well, you need to make this clear for me, because I wasn't a manufacturer. I wasn't, it's not my industry. I work in science, so it's so not my industry. And I made it clear I was going to a sourcing conference. And I said, you have to make it really easy for me, because I'm giving you half an hour, and if I don't get someone right within the first half an hour, I'm out. And within the first 5 minutes, that was it. I found the person that I wanted to use.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how the universe responds when we're in resistance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The more resistant we are, the more persistent it is, And then it always seems to end up like what you just said about this conference. You get to a certain point, and you kind of lay an ultimatum down, but in a different way. Like it's almost like the last test or something.
Yeah. Even to the point where I wanted to bring it in, and then COVID hit, and he said to me, look, you might want to consider bringing it by sea. And I thought, okay, all right, well, if that's the way it's got to be. And I saw the importance of it. I mean, it's all about water, but it was important for it to spend time on the water, coming over the sea. Wow. And that in itself was part of its energy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Far out. Have you had any I don't know, dimensional or strange or paranormal experiences during this time period since we talked last? Because there seems to be a lot of energy moving around. A lot of people are experiencing a lot of different things. Have you noticed anything different going on?
I don't know about different, but perhaps more pronounced, more often.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say it's different, though. It's different in that it's more intense and more often, and a lot easier to access. But I don't know that I would say it's different.
Yeah. Have you been working with a lot of people?
No, I haven't. No, because like I said earlier, right now I feel like it's all about me.
Yeah.
And when I say all about me, in order for me to help or not help, to make any changes anywhere else, I've got to heal my stuff, my wounds, my traumas, my whatever. That's not to say that I'm not being taken to places, but I'm not asking to heal certain things, or to go to certain places to heal certain places, or I'm just letting it take me wherever I need to be, really.
Yeah. I think one thing that has been happening, of course, we've said this before over the last few years, but this one seemed to be a whole lot different. That's things coming up from way deep inside. like, I don't know if that's what happened to you last week. You were talking about last week, but just way, way deep inside, like, men and women, uh, particularly men. There's like four of them that I've talked to in the last, probably week and a half, or that were on the show, that are just crying uncontrollably, like all day long.
Yep.
And then of course a big expansion once it's all cleared. Have you had anything like that going on?
Yes. Yes, I did. I woke up crying. I actually woke up crying, and had no idea why until I went into my meditation. And like you said, it was deep,
Mm.
deep, deep, old, very old stuff. And some of it was interesting because as I was going through it, as I was kind of going through the layers, I was thinking, yeah, I've been here before. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. And then I got to a point where it was like, oh boy, okay, this went way deeper than I thought. And but again, it was so quick to release it. Once I found it, it reminded me, one thing that I've learned recently as well is that I don't need to work anything out. If anything needs to be kind of made clear, or I feel like it's I don't need to do anything with it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, the antivirus software, where our role is to detect the virus, and the virus is that trauma that has sat there for so long. And I detected it, then the antivirus kicks in and starts clearing the computer. I mean, when there's a virus on my computer, I don't do anything with it. It just tells me it's detected a virus and does the clearing for me. And it feels very much like that. My job, or our job, is to detect that there's something there and to allow ourselves to go into it. And once we're in there, that's it. The clearing starts. The antivirus software kicks in and does its work. Unless you get in the way, I tend to try and get in the way. Eventually, I'll step out of the way and it does its job.
Well, I think what you're saying too, I've noticed too, at least for myself, I don't have it pinpointed. Although this past week I knew what it was. Like, it was old deep programming, distorted masculine programming. But I noticed, even watching other people, even like the guys I was referring to, they're feeling emotional, they're feeling heavy, but it's and they don't necessarily know. I don't necessarily know what it is, but it's processing. It's almost like it's on automatic, So the tears or the purging or whatever the case is, there seems to be, it has a collective feel to it. Some of it anyway, some of it does. I don't know. It feels like it's amping up, right? Like
Yeah.
it's amping up.
And I agree that it feels like a collective thing. It some of it was mine, but some of it was not just mine. It was a collective trauma. But it's interesting that you mention the whole masculine thing, because mine was about the masculine and feminine, and about bringing that back to balance.
I was going to ask you that. You know how you got to see, this is what you got to get used to. The intuitiveness, the telepathy, and you got to trust it. And when you first said that about last week, because of course that was mine, and I told you. I thought, I wonder if she went through the same thing, but she's a woman. Don't say nothing. Don't embarrass yourself. So
no, it was. It was, and it was really for me. It just felt like we're now bringing back that balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I say now, but it's but you can see that divide has been for so long, so long. And there has also been the other extreme where women are man bashing, and there's the two extremes, and it just felt that without one, the other can't really exist.
No, can't. Nobody's untouched either. It doesn't matter your gender, but that's, and so it's like, I don't know. To me, it's like there's a collective feel to most of this stuff, but obviously there's a personal part too. But I think what I feel is happening is that it's become available. Like we have as a group, as a collective, have expanded a consciousness, so it's created a larger field of perception, and that's why the similarities and the parallels that people are having, not so much the details, but the feelings and the purging and the crying and the emotions. But at the same time, and this is what I find very intriguing, is it feels good, like I feel. And I said it during those 3 days. I said, I'm happy. I'm doing what I want to do, but man, I'm hurting. I'm effing dying. I told Morgan 3 nights in a row, I'm effing dying. Like I don't even know what to do. You just lay there and let it run its course, I guess.
Yeah. And it is uncomfortable, and it is. For me, I found it a bit scary at times.
Yeah. Me too, by the way.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Morgan said to me, she has this great process for clearing stuff. So, it blew my third eye open, when I first started using it, 2017. And if I need to, I go to it. I had to, first of all, about the second week of October, I utilized it. But in this case, she said to me, well, why don't you just go to the core and clear it? There was something in me that had already thought of that, of course, but the quick answer was, you need to feel every single piece of this. Like I knew I couldn't shortcut it. I knew that and it wasn't like, a cognitive thing. It wasn't like, rationalization and this and that. And it wasn't like that. It was just strictly a feeling, like a sensory kind of thing. And I felt it all over my body. Like, like one part of my body would start having an ache, and then it would clear, and then another part of my body would do it. It was very
just after that experience that I had in Peru, when I was telling you about, the water and so forth. Just after that, I got sick, and I was being told to spend the next 7 days or 7 nights or whatever it was in the earth's womb. And boy, was that dark, miserable, heavy, painful. It sounds very much like what you're describing. And it was, I was so sick as well as being in pain. And like I never really take drugs. I don't even take Panadol, if I've got a headache, very rarely. But I had to take Panadol just to keep the fever down, and just so I could function a little bit. It was so hard, really hard. But then coming through it was, oh my goodness, it was the most blissful thing I had ever experienced. I would walk down the street and look at people and think, oh my gosh, you're the most beautiful being I've ever seen. And I was just so in love with everything and everyone. And then it went away, and I thought, oh God, how do I get it back?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I remember going to a guy not far from here. I think he might have been a kinesiologist or something. And I said, oh, he said, well, what can I do for you? And I said, I want to become love. I was, and then I lost it somehow. And he said, okay, in all the years I've been doing this, I've never had anyone walk in and tell me they want to become love. And he said, how do you know you're not? And I was traveling a lot for work at the time. And I said, oh, because I was at the airport yesterday and I saw this little kid and thought he was really ugly. And that love would not say that. So I know I'm not.
At least you're honest, right?
Well, you know.
But I think that's what it takes. And I don't mean like, we're talking, and not that it's, not important to be honest with somebody else, but it's that honesty with ourselves. Because I think so much, if I look at my own journey, that it started that way. Like I used to call it the brutal honesty of the soul. And that was on the big issues that are in your face. Then you have these little programs playing that are kind of subtle and quiet. And you've spent years and years and years substantiating your behavior and, your perspective. Those are a little harder to accept. But like you said, everything's getting louder. Like it really, really is. And I'm watching people on both ends. Like I'm watching people thrive, but the thriving isn't like they walk outside and there's a golden road in front of them. Mm-hmm. They walk outside and something appears and they own it and they deal with it honestly with themselves. And then the golden road lays out 5 meters of bricks. And then, and then the other side of it is it's pretty, I've got some friends. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's dark, but they're definitely in a tough place. And I know we've all been there. So it'll be interesting to see how those folks come out of it. Maybe that's part of the spectrum that they've chosen to hold up, and who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, it is hard. It's hard to know what it is going to look like on the other side, or on the other side of this.
Yeah.
I really cannot imagine what 2021 is going to look like.
No, I don't know what December's going to look like. We still got 2 weeks in November. But how was I going to say? God, I forgot. But it was along with the lines of what you were talking about. I can't remember. Oh, I know what it was. Well, one thing that looks very clear, whether a person's admitting it or not admitting it, is that the deepest rooted stuff is coming out. Like it really is the stuff that we've BS'd ourselves about, whether it be about our perspective of the world or how it works or what's ethical, moral, righteous, or within our own field, which is all one and the same. But that to me is unarguable. Like all the crap is coming up.
Yep.
And that's what I was talking about with the kind of the automatic thing, like even this thing from last week. I just knew I just had to kind of like just align with it. And I think that was the big release for me I think it was on the 3rd day or the 4th day after it had cleared, because I could feel it. Like I told Morgan, I'm about 85%, about 90%. I'm telling you about it, but I don't want to talk about it because but I did a show with somebody, I think it was a man, and he said to me, the guest said to me something like, and we weren't talking about this, they were telling their own anecdotes and stories that they had to learn to love that part of them. And I've heard that before, but for some reason it took a different meaning on it. And so I started to think about, honestly, all the hell-raising, thrill-seeking, wild, debaucherous things that I did And I just went, wait, I've done everything else with it. I can actually, like, make friends with it and have a laugh about it, and you know, uh, and own it, and love it, and just like everything else. And that was a real big. I guess that was like the validation, because it did happen after the 3 days. It was the next day. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I yeah. I so get it. I so get it.
yeah.
Um,
I think this is how we get it. To be honest with you,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
you can't read about this stuff.
No.
It's too real time.
Yeah.
It's even
Yeah. And it's
a great book that was written and downloaded, say the first 6 months of 2020. This, to me, having these conversations, witnessing them, uh, is worth its weight in gold. I mean, it's just, there's no
yeah.
comparison.
And I think it's because there are so many layers to it as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
when we experience something or when we verbalize something, there are so many layers to it. Even though we're using certain words,
yeah,
um, there's more to it than just those words.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm,
that somebody came on the other day and they were like, in the Tao, there's a saying that a caged tiger is not caged by the bars, but by the space between the bars.
mm,
And I sat with
mm,
that for like half a day. I thought, man, I know that's deep and that's on point, but it is. It's like I've said for many years, the videos, the lives, uh, you know, uh, even shows like this. It's not the words; it's the energy that's coming from the source, right? That people, that people attach to. I don't mean attach in a bad way, but identify with, or they resonate with, or they align with.
mm, mm,
That's it to me. I mean, this will happen every now and then, because I used to, when I first came out a few years ago. Um, I was much, not that I'm a choir boy now, but I'm just saying I was very, very lighting the candle at both ends. So, but I was still getting downloaded, and I'd flip on. I was guided, flip on the phone and do a video, and so every now and then they'll pop up, and I'll see one, and I'll be like, oh my god, I can't even watch this. Right? Who is that guy? But I look at it from more of a you know, I guess a level of picking up nuances, and when I watch things just for what I do, and then I realize whether I'm watching myself or somebody else, it's the energy that they're picking up. It's the heart. It's the intention. It's the courage. It's something that's not in the words. It's
yeah,
not in the words. Not that the words aren't relevant, but yeah, I really think
yeah.
that.
And
Yeah,
I agree. And I think it's like you say, it's in that space between,
yeah,
because something happens in that space
yeah,
between.
yeah,
In that pause between words, in the pause between sentences, in the pause between,
yeah,
conversations. Um, Something happens, something transmutes, and I suppose that's validated when you hear when two people hear the same conversation in completely different ways. What's happened from when it left that person's mouth to receiving it in that person's heart? What happened
yeah,
in between?
yeah. Well, and the other thing about the pauses is you can hear, because if you think about two people having a discussion, and anyone that's been in a relationship can understand that, especially if it's a very strong connection, kids or spouse or whatever, they're saying and hearing two different things,
Mm,
and that's
mm,
understandable. But if there's a pause, figuratively and literally, then that energy gets to settle in, and I think that's part of the distortion that's leaving. Is this the guys were talking about it on the previous show? This need to talk, this need to fill the space with what? you know, with whatever you can think of. You know, I mean, it's and I think that part's going away. I think there'll be a lot more pauses as we continue down this path.
Yeah.
Really.
When I'd gone to that guy and said, I want to become love, and I spent months and months trying to become love. And a friend of mine had said to me, oh, why don't you try writing to God? And I went, yeah, I don't really do that, God. And she said, anyway, so a few days later, or a week later, when I was so desperate, and I sat down and wrote to God and wrote, dear God, show me who I am without judgment. Show me how to become love.
Yeah.
And I instantly got a response. God responded.
To go figure that.
And said, focus on that which has you believe that you are not love. Because the other response was, how do I help you become something you already are? So I was asking to become love, and I was being told, how do I help you become something you already are? So focus on that which has you believe that you are not love.
Yeah.
So what I did was focused on all the things I used. The whole search for love was my distraction. As soon as I stopped, I realized, oh yeah, I'm already it.
Pause. Be quiet. Pause.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. As soon as I paused, I went, oh yeah.
So
I've been searching
so
so hard.
There, right? This just goes away. So this is the end of. I am gonna. Marie Batchelor's coming on tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but this is technically the end. Normally Friday's the end of my weekend. I'm sitting here talking to you, and I've had this thing in my head because we launched the website finally after 9 years, 2 days ago. And first thing that happens, and that's what happens when you do something, you know, things are going to pop up. So we had to close the store down immediately because there's some stuff that has to be worked out, which I didn't know beforehand. And there's other things going on, right? And so I'm thinking, and I'm in that same state as you're telling me this, right? I've noticed that over the last few days, I've gone into that conversation with God. Like, what, not give me this, but what can I do? Show me the way, like fervently, you know? And so as I was coming in between the last show and this show, I was going there and I was thinking, man, I just know I can feel it. It's like right there in front of me. And now you just said this, how can I show you to be something you already are? And I'm challenged with how can I ask but not ask for these things that I don't have? And as I'm listening to you, I end my week. Now, this is just a personal thing for me, but thank you. I end it and go, wait a minute. I already have that stuff. I have what I need. I have the resources. They're there, right? It's the same thing. It's just another name for love, you know? I mean, so I'm going to have to go to the drawing board for the weekend because it really is the same thing. It's the same substance.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Thank you for that. That was big for me. Real big. I was about to pull my hair out.
It was big for me too.
So where can people find you? And especially, also, I don't want to forget. So Instagram, they can find you on
Love Letters by Cleo.
Love Letters by Cleo. Hang on, that's on Instagram, right?
Instagram and Facebook.
Oh, and Facebook. Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. Love Letters by Cleo. All right. There we go. Right on.
And I do have limited runs because they're all handmade, hand printed.
Oh, wow. I was going to ask you about that. Is that bamboo? What is that material?
No, it's a cotton linen blend. The
Oh,
reason I
because
did the
it
blend,
feels. Let me tell you, we have a bed and we have a, I don't know what you call them. You know, but we have 3 pillows. So one's decorative, and then it goes in the chair at night. One
yeah,
is the same color as the Duna, and then yours during the day it's on the bottom, but at night I lay on it because man, it
mm,
feels good. It feels like, you know, like an old pair of blue jeans or old T-shirt. It's all nice and soft, you know.
yeah,
Oh, I love
yeah.
it, and I love it. Yeah,
Yeah, and I did. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to feel,
yeah,
like you say, that comfortable, that old pair of blue jeans.
yeah.
Yeah.
It does. I can vouch for them, people. I would highly recommend you get over to
Thank
Love
you.
Letters by Cleo on Instagram and Facebook. If you need a recommendation, let me and Morgan know. You know, I didn't know you made the Duna covers.
Yeah.
I'll maybe have to get one of those because the rest of it feels. I mean, what we have feels really good. Well,
Be
it's good
prepared.
seeing you. It was good seeing you.
And you, thank you so much.
Yeah,
It was
I
lovely to
really
speak with
enjoy.
you.
Yeah, I really enjoy collaborating with you. And I don't know what the date is, but next month.
I'm not sure. Oh,
Uh,
it might be the 12th. Might be the 12th.
see. So you're 12th. Yeah, my 11th. Your 12th.
Yeah.
So 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday. Oh, another Friday. Friday the 11th. 2 days after my birthday. And
Oh, happy birthday to them.
my last year being in my 50s, I'll be 59. Um,
Oh,
so you and Melina Ferguson are going to come on that day, and
yeah.
that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I love y'all both. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Love you.
All blessings to you and yours. And I'll
Thank
see
you. And to
you.
yours.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks again. And I'll see you next month.